episode of Dope Chats with Stretch. I am Stretch, yours truly, your 6'6" phenomenon. Thank you for hanging out with me tonight. Here we go. Which member of Migos did not have a verse on their song Bad and Bougie?
No idea.
Come on.
I have no idea. I know the Migos had a song called Tasty. Stir Fry.
All right. What's up, everybody? Welcome to another dope edition of Dope Chats with Stretch. That is I, your 6'6" phenomenon. And as I always look at that intro, and as I look at my face now, I got to shave this beard off, man. I just can't do it. I can't do it. But anyway, I want to thank you all for hanging out with me tonight. It's going to be a super dope night. I'm super excited to have my guest. We've had a very just tumultuous week, just to say a few things, with so many things that's going on around in the country and, many things that have just happened over this past week and last week. So I thought tonight would be a good night for us to sit back, relax, and enjoy each other's company, and also enjoy this young lady that I'm about to bring to the stage. She is just extraordinary. Let me give you just a little quick background on her. She is the CEO, owner of Sanjay. I'm going to say it right because she's going to cuss me out after I do this wrong. Productions, which is a full-service special event management, promotions, event staffing, and nonprofit fundraising and planning company. So, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, please put your hands together for the incomparable, the talented Sanjay DeCaris.
Hi. How are you?
What's up? How you feel?
A little tired, but
Yeah. It's all good. It's all good.
Blessings on blessings,
Absolutely. We were just backstage talking, and I kept on telling you, I do not like to mess up people's names.
Yes.
And so I was like, I sent her a text today. I was like, tell me phonetically. And what I do, I messed it up.
That's why I was like, say it before we get on,
Oh man. Oh, that's crazy. It's crazy. But I'm glad that you're here. I'm super excited. It's been a while since last time I saw you. And then of course, I think we talked maybe like a couple years ago, but always follow you on everything that you do on social media. So let's get into this. I know you're on your production company as far as dealing with branding and marketing. But where did it all start for you?
Where did it all start? It all started with Russell Simmons.
Oh, do tell.
No, seriously, I was on radio and I had met one of Russell Simmons' partners. His name was Will Griffin, and they had formed a production company, him, Stan Lathan, and Russell, and they produced shows like Run's House, of course, and a couple of other different programmings and movies and so forth. And Will approached me, was like, he was always a fan of radio. And he was like, there's this new thing coming out called On Demand. He was like, Comcast is doing this thing called video on demand. This is like the new technology. And we need content, video on demand. It needs content. And I want to tap you, stuff that you're doing. And then he was also working with, I forgot the guy's, Vlad TV. And he was like, we're going to come to the station, and when you guys tape celebrities, we're going to film it.
Right.
And I was just like, okay. And he was like, I need you to like kind of be like our booking agent, we'll pay you this, that, the other. And I'm like, okay. And he was like, you have a company set up? And I'm like, no. And he was like, well, you got to set up your company because we got to pay you and this, that, the other. And I was like, all right, bet, So he helped me set up my company and, figure out what an invoice was. And so I started, and then people, loved what I was doing with the morning show in Baltimore, and was just like, yo, can you do that? Can you do a, work on this when Celebrity Weekends were like such a big thing, right? And I was like, can you do work on Ray Lewis's Celebrity Weekend and Terrell Suggs Celebrity Weekend, Ed Reed's Celebrity Weekend? And I was like, okay, and it just kind of like grew from there. And then when I left radio, I just was like, man, I'm tired of being at the hands and the mercy of like ratings and,
Mm-hmm.
syndication and program directors and their whims or whatever and their wrong whims. So I was like, let me go into this full time, and I just kind of never looked back.
Right. That's awesome. That's awesome. So out of it all, that was the spawn of what you do now.
Yes.
Do you thinking back from your days in working in radio and just in the music industry altogether and to what you're doing now, what were some of the, I guess, I don't know, hiccups that you found along the way of making that transition, or was it an easy transition for you?
Well, I started my business in the middle of the recession, right?
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Right. So 2007 is when I started my business, and in 2008 is kind of when I went to it full time. So
Right.
that when the recession hit, and everybody was just pulling back dollars and money.
Mm-hmm.
And by the grace of God, I was able to just kind of navigate through all that, and because of my personal relationships and mentors and people who kind of like believed in me and gave me opportunities, and I proved them right, and and things like that, word of mouth, things just kind of end up growing,
Right.
But it was hard for like probably the first year and a half, 2 years before you like really, really started making, money. Like my severance package was, was running out, and I was like, oh, it's either kind of like a sink or swim scenario, right? And I just swam, and I just, people offered me jobs, and I was like, I'm not going back to, I'm not going back to that type of work life. I like making my own schedule. I like the freedom of creating my own path, and it just continued.
That's dope, and it's good that you hit on that, because I think it's nothing better than having the liberty of being able to create your own path and be your own boss, and wake up when you want to wake up, make money when you want to make money.
You want to cancel a day.
Exactly.
Exactly. For you, whatever's going on in your life, or you want to spend time with your family, and like, listen, I'm taking, I'm pushing my meetings back to tomorrow or whatever it may be. So. Mm-hmm.
That's what's up. So let's get into the aspect of branding and marketing, because I think, it's become such, I guess you could say it's a cliche these days, because everyone wants to be a brand, or everyone is, finding different ways of like marketing, especially from our world and radio. Long gone are the days of just a radio personality. Now it's a brand. Mm-hmm. How important is it for a company or maybe an author or a singer, whatever the case may be, to have a very impactful branding and marketing strategy?
Well, I think everything. That's how you sell, right? Marketing and branding and promotions is with your product or service. That's how people know about you and how people basically contract you to do jobs for them, right? And I think that what has happened, which is great, but also not great, is social media, right? So social media has helped a lot of people, gain exposure to folks they would never have had exposure to, right? The internet connected people from all over the country, all over the world, and you could, people could go on to social media and create a brand, and sometimes the brand is official and sometimes the brand may not be official, right? But it's all about perception. So, I commend folks who've kind of like become millionaires and, done such great work and impactful work. And, I said the things that we've seen, just like, and we'll get into, I guess, that, this week, with George Floyd, and, how many times has that happened,
right,
to a Black person, and no one knew about it, right? It was only in a certain scope, right, of folks that kind of knew about it, and it just went away. But now when you're able to kind of see the images and see what's happening, then there could be a call for justice. There could be a call for making some really impactful changes in policy and government and all kinds of stuff, things that happened to Breonna Taylor, mm-hmm. When you look at Ferguson, and Ferguson's never had a Black mayor, you know what I mean? Like that city, never had a Black mayor, right?
Right.
And all the injustices that were happening to Black people within that city, of them being kind of overtaxed, right? By them being targeted by the police with, tickets and whatever, harassment, whatever it may be, just for walking down the street, right? Mm-hmm. now those things are kind of exposed. So, branding and messaging is really, really important. And I said, and it's wonderful when it's really used for good and really, able to kind of open up people's eyes and expose them and really push change.
And it's funny that you mentioned that because I think, especially for the things that are going on right now, when things are put on Front Street, whether the atrocities that have happened in Minnesota or just in Atlanta with the voting laws, now that people are actually getting a chance to see these things and they're able to make their assumptions and get factual responses or get factual facts rather right then and there. Rather than hearing it, word of mouth or, people, oh no, that didn't happen. This didn't happen. So now people are able to take those things and make their own assessments. That's dope.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, but then you also got the Instagram miles, right? booty everywhere.
Yeah, man. Let me tell you, if I get another bot post from some like sexually clad lady sitting behind a computer talking about want to make some Bitcoin, I'm like, get out of here, man.
Oh, we getting the Bitcoin.
I'm like, get out of here. No one believes you. Like, I don't want no part of that.
Yeah, it is. Social media can definitely be used for good and it could be used for bad, right? Because it has swayed. We've seen what has happened with like Russia and, tapping into our system and swaying an election by giving false information. Mm-hmm. So, you really have to, be careful how much social media you consume and then also make sure you read. I always tell my sister, I'm like, if you do not stop watching YouTube and all these things that are targeted towards you and pick up an actual article, try to read the facts of the New York Times or whatever it may be, and and use your own kind of discernment, and what's right and what's wrong, and then make your own educated assumption, but it's like, I said, but it's wonderful because it connects people. Like, what if this pandemic happened and there was no social media to connect people? There would be no D-Nice. There would be no Versus. There would be none of those things that like really kind of saved people,
Yeah. I mean, it's social media is a gift and a curse because, during the pandemic, yes, I think a lot of us were, taken out of our comfort system because we were removed from going to events or being around our family or kicking it with our friends or going on dates, whatever the case may be. And so you gravitated towards stuff that that was just right there in the palm of your hands and could keep your attention for whatever. But then also you get the bad where it's just like, a bunch of jibber jabber people, hey, look at me, I'm this, I'm that. But then you be like, are you really? So it's like, it's just like
catfish. You're getting catfished out here. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You're like, she bad, she this, she that, even these, and then you're like, what?
Right. It's just like, because and I think it played a major role on the mental, because this is where you seen a lot of people, go through progressions of depression, whether you're depressed, you're sad, you're lonely. It accentuated all of that for something that really was supposed to be, for good and just for enjoyment. But it brought out, for the most part, brought out the worst in a lot of people. But, I digress. I'm glad that things are starting to open up a little bit more.
Yeah. And
people are able to get out.
Yeah. People be able to, be out and not be so locked in,
Mm-hmm.
So I have to big up my brother, my friend, D-Nice, and so what Swiss and Timbaland created, and then just tons of people who did some amazing things, creative things, like that just connected people, just made people feel good, just feel good music and being artists and laughing and the comedy, whatever the memes, whether the Teddy Riley memes, like, just kept people dying laughing. Yeah. It's like, you can't make this shit up. You can't make it.
It's just like the last joint with the Osleys and Earth, Wind and Fire. Oh. People like, that's Ron Osley? And, calling him Zaddy and all this other stuff.
Ron Osley was Zaddy though, yo. I was like, who that?
Ron Osley came out there. with that
I never
chinchilla.
looked at Ozzy like that before. I was like, oh, shorty.
Well, you like him young, so
Daddy.
you know what I'm saying? Don't parade yourself around, Mr. Big, he might get you now.
I know I said, but all of those, seeing that and that feel good music and, what is it? Where do you make that up? Where Steve Harvey comes out to host, Earth, Wind and Fire, and
Right.
that would have never happened without the pandemic,
Right,
so it's it's amazing.
Man, let's get into I want to get your perspective on what you find or what you perceive to be a successful marketing and branding. What makes a successful marketing and branding plan for folks out there? Like, especially you have some folks out here who might be watching or listening right now who are thinking about creating a company, or they have a product that they want to push, but yet they like Martin in that one episode where he got to go start from scratch. They don't know nothing. Can you give us a few tidbits on what to do or how to successfully execute?
Well, the biggest thing is to understand your target audience, right? So who's your target audience? Who are you trying to pitch your product or service to, right? So that's important because that goes into your branding and your messaging, right?
Right.
And really try to think about creating a niche. You when you look at the market, sometimes things are oversaturated, right? And you got to make sure that what you're doing or what you're saying is breaking through, right? Being innovative, thinking outside the box. But there's when I tell people, I was like, with marketing, when you see something 9 times, people have to see things 9, 10 times for it to register, right? So it's and you have to think about different touch points, right? So if it's a email, if it's a text, if it's a post, if there's different times when the people are gonna be like, oh, what is that? You know what I mean? And you think that you've done it once or twice and people will register. It hasn't registered. It hasn't clicked in their brain. So when you think about your marketing plan, you have to think about several different sources that you plan to target your audience, right? And just think about it think about it when a person is driving home or you're driving home, right?
Right.
So you get off, so say you're at your computer, right? You see an ad pop up, right? Then you go onto social media, you know what I mean? You see something else pop up, right? You walk outside, to get into your car, whatever it is, a text comes through. Okay,
Right.
You hear it on the radio. Okay, you come home, you see it on TV, or you're on the bus or train or whatever it may be, or you see a billboard. Those are times of that repetitiveness is really important when you think about branding and messaging. So when you see the algorithms in social media and they say to constantly post because that levels up your engagement of your people, that's very important. The amount of times that you post, because I said that goes back to being repetitive. So and it depends on what platform you plan to market your stuff in. Are you just doing social media? Are you doing direct marketing? Are you doing email marketing? Or you have to think about all of those things when you just try to develop a marketing plan, because you have to hit your target demographic in different ways. And then you have to think about your target demographic. If your niche is mothers, you have to think about what a day-to-day would be for a mother, for her to see your messaging and your branding.
Got you. And that's where Sanjay Production comes in. Because you're able to put all those things together for individuals who are looking to, more or less, not only from a monetary standpoint, but just from a visual standpoint of getting that stuff out there. Because I know it is tedious to try to do this stuff by yourself.
Yeah, and you got to make sure your messaging is clear, you know what I mean, and clean and good quality, right?
Right.
Some people try to skimp, and it's that's not resonating people. Not now, especially with there's so many high technology quality things that people are producing. You have to make sure your stuff really is top notch and clean.
Right.
And there's so many tools Canva. So many things that you can utilize now to create your own branding and messaging, but, make sure that, there's no misspellings, make sure
Right.
that it's clear, like those are all things that people remember when they see, when
Right.
they see your stuff, and I said, you have to understand like what your purpose is and be very clear about what your purpose for your product or your services, right? So if you're like, trying to target mothers who,
Mhm.
um, break brownies on the weekend, you know what I mean? Like you have to make sure your messaging is attractive to those types of people.
Which is you know, interesting that you say that because you helped me today. Because
Yeah.
I was like, yo, here's the flyer, put it up. You was like, maybe you want to change. And I was like, oh, I see. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and somebody inboxed me, was like, I can't read that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, and I, when I first saw it, and I was like, oh, he sent a new one. Here's a new one. They're like, oh, okay, great. So that's very
Yeah.
important. You gotta, when you're promoting something, you have to make sure that all of the messaging is very clear, right?
Right.
So people are it is legible, so people can read it.
Mhm.
So it's like, date, time, place, all that has to be very, very clear, or people won't know.
Right. So sorry, person who couldn't read it. I fixed it. So hopefully you were able to see it. Hopefully he was able to see it. So let's talk about some of your events and things that you've done. I mean, I know your company, you host, or I should say, put on different variations of events, from hosting like summits to conferences to even graduations and
Yeah.
fundraisers. Out of all those that you have done, what is the, I guess, the creme de la creme? Like, what do you get most excited about working on?
I think my biggest thing is like I love seeing a vision in its totality, right?
Mhm.
Like so something that like started from like nothing or an idea,
Mhm.
right? And then just seeing that, we are able to achieve everything, right? And it's a beautiful experience. Like I love experiences. So I always am very passionate about like when people walk away from an event, that I put on, that they're like, yo, that was a good time. Like I had a good time. We danced, we laughed. Like that was really fun. You know what I mean? Like I always want to have that fun and wow aspect where it's just like, yo, we danced a lot, we laughed. That food was amazing. That was really good. Like, oh, I learned something, like depending on what the event is or what the purpose of the event is. Like
Mhm.
I'm really like, I'm like, okay, that looked pretty, but was it fun? Like when I look at people's events and I'm like, okay, it was beautiful, but
Mhm.
was it fun? Did people have fun?
Right.
Did people walk away feeling good after they left?
So what do you think, contributes to a fun and eventful event like that will have people talking, 2 to 3 days afterwards?
So to me, it's always about the sensories, right? So
Mhm.
it's like, you know, the way things look, the way things taste, the way things smell, the way make it's like make the way things make you feel. If you're laughing, if you're, if it's an emotional attachment to it. So it really just depends on the what the event is. But like you gotta have like great music, you know what I mean, and good food, and you have to feel very comfortable in a beautiful space, and the program ran smoothly and it wasn't like you're waiting there forever or whatever it may be. Like those things, and stuff happens because events, that's something that always happens, right? It's always going to be something that goes wrong, and you have to be, as an event planner, you have to be able to adapt to that, right? Because a lot of event planners I know, like sometimes they're not good with just like shit going wrong, like things changing at the last moment, right? And that's what you have to be flexible, because anything can anything could happen. Anything could happen. I've had my growing pains, and I've learned a lot, over the course of being in business for like 13 years. And you learn, you make you make your mistakes, and you pick up, and you're like, all right, well, that's not gonna happen again, and this is what has to happen. And for people to have like walk away with their feet. I want people to walk away with like, yo, that food was so good, or we had this and that, like we danced, and that was really, a really good host. He made me laugh. Like all those things are very, very, very important when you're putting together a program.
That's dope. That's dope. Yo, you all checked into Dope Chats with Stretch, and my guest tonight is the CEO and founder and owner of Sanjay Productions. Her name is Sanjay DeCaris.
DeCaris.
DeCaris. Yes, sir. That's French.
Portuguese.
Oh, Portuguese and French kind of.
I think it's a ride. It's some background stuff like French people went to Portugal, I think, something like that. So
like kissing cousins, you know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? All that good stuff. But yo, that leads me to my next question. So you've worked and done so many dope events with major clients. What are some of the clients or some of the events that you've worked on that really stand out to you? And what did you learn from those experiences?
So, this year has been really interesting because I've had to convert a lot of my event stuff into virtual experiences. And that's like a whole different kind of ball game, right? Yeah. And we just recently worked on the CIAA and making it a virtual experience. And, when we first initially, started talking about it, had a short amount of time because everyone was trying to think about like, okay, this is going to be over by February, or we'll be somewhat back to normal by February. You're talking about this like in June, right? Like, okay, this will be over. And then it's like months are going by and kids are not going back to school. And you're like, oh shoot, we got to make a decision. And what are we going to do to we don't want to cancel it. We want to still honor the event, because it was like the first year was going to be in Baltimore, and it was such like we had just come off like such a great high. Like my February I was like in a week in LA working on BET Awards and flying to Charlotte and then working on CIAA. Then it was like everybody was like, slow down,
right?
Pause. You know what I mean? Like you flowing, but it's a wrap. Sit your ass down, right? And nobody was going anywhere. And we had to make a decision, and we opted to still continue to honor the tournament and do something virtually. And, what we did was, really good. And I think we were like one of the top watched things for that week, right? On social media. And, when you have to navigate, you have to help your clients see something that they have no understanding about, right? Like they're like, what? When I was like, okay, we gotta, I'm a pivoter. Like I'm like, okay, we gotta move, we gotta figure this out, we gotta start building, off of this and creating different things to get people engaged.
Right.
So when we get to February, it's like they're not kind of like, what is this? They're, we've done things along the way to keep them engaged, because that's what you have to do in your marketing. You have to continuously keep your clientele engaged with content. And from pitching something in June that you're pitching to 12 presidents, you're pitching to the board, you're pitching to all this, and people are just like, this is foreign to people because people are just used to live events and they're used to having 75 years of a basketball tournament, and now we're like, okay, this is how we're going to flip it. Still honor the tournament,
right?
But keep people connected. Keep people engaged with just the brand of CIAA.
Correct.
And we came up with some great panels, and they came up with some great performances, and we did a hell of a job. When you looked at the actual week of programming, and we flipped it. Compared to back in June, they were like, I don't know how we're going to do this, So to see that come to fruition and us do something, that was really, done really, really well, that's what kind of brings me joy, and that's important. Working on BET Awards, helping produce the BET Her Awards, it was just kind of like, hey, Sanjay, we've heard of your work, and, I need you to help do an A, B, C, and D. And, I had to make it happen, you know what I mean? And it's being back in LA and working with that whole vibe, and just seeing how BET has evolved as a company as well from when I used to do work with them back when I was in the radio, and then seeing where they are now, and, just the level of and just the dopeness of the producers, you know, I was like, this is amazing. Like, this is great quality. This is definitely Black excellence, you know?
Right. That's dope. That's really dope. I mean, I think because, you know, you work there, I work there, and I think, you know, from back then to now, I'm glad to see that they've evolved and, you know, and things of that nature. So that
because you know how bootleg it was back in the day, right?
Oh, of course. We've all worked at some bootleg companies, you know what I'm saying?
It was like back in the day. I mean, I had you know, Terrence J was I was the first person to put Terrence J on the radio, and he first got hired, right? And he tells the story about how he got hired to BET and his, you know, his resilience, like his perseverance to like make it, you know, because they had rejected him in North Carolina, and he drove to New York and auditioned again, right? They were like, we don't like you. And then he was like, well, you know, I'm trying out again. And he drove up to New York and tried out again. And they gave him the job. And nobody knew who he was. And my intern was like his little brother from North Carolina A&T. And he's like, my big brother just got a job at BET being the host of 106 & Park. And I was like, he's like, can he come on the radio? I was like, oh, yeah, sure. You know what I mean? We'll bring him on the radio. And we had a good time with him. And, you know, he started getting acclimated with DC. And, you know, and it's just like, when you see that, when I see people like D Nice and I see people like Terrence J and I see other people who like, you know, were just starting out. And then I turn around and, I mean, you know, D's always been great, but like he wasn't recognized for like how dope he was. You know what I mean? And now, like where I look at him now, I'm like, yo, that's amazing to me.
No, he had like the highest.
I see the grind,
right.
Yeah, and it's just like you deserve all of that. You know what I mean? Like, and all these people, it's like you deserve all of that. I see your grind, I see your hustle. I saw, you know, how you were humbled and like you're just doing it, and that's just dope when you come up in the industry and you see your folks like doing really well, you know, and like they finally get their break or what they deserve, you know.
And it kind of goes back to a word that you used earlier. It's all about pivoting, because there's going to come a time in your life, especially in this business, where you're going to have to make a pivot.
I've been fired twice.
Right.
Fired twice from 2 radio shows. You know what I mean? Where it felt like, oh, you guys are number one, but we want to try something different and like syndicate. You know what I mean? And that syndication like didn't work. You know, and you know, they had to start back from a morning show, from a live morning show again, and you know, and it's just like, you know, because I said, and you're at the whim of like, I think I want something different. You know, I think we want something different, and we're gonna try this, and you know, and then you're on your butt, you know. So it's just like I didn't like having that, you know. Like we're doing some great stuff, we're doing some dope stuff, we're touching the community. This is that, the other, and you know.
No one's got time for all of that.
Yeah.
You know, you know what I don't got time for?
What?
The fact that I did not connect my computer because the battery thing just came up and says, yo, you're running low on battery. So I know this is just this. I felt like I'm at BT back in 2007. Psych. Hey, but for real, before we get out of here, because I got one more thing I want to do with you.
Yeah.
But let everybody know how they can get in contact with you, you know, if they need your services for your business, because you offer so many great things, and I want to make sure that everyone is in touch with you.
Yes. So you can always reach me. My my website is sonjieproductions.com, sonjieproductions.com. And then you can always email me at sonjie@sonjieproductions.com. So, and my Instagram is sonjieluvs, Sanjay Loves.
There it is. There it is. She's making things happen, ladies and gentlemen. And now it is time for my favorite part of the show. It is once again time for questions from the hat. You feel me?
From the hat.
Questions from the hat. So in here are some questions, maybe some music questions, some relationship questions, or just some other random questions that I came up with, and I'm gonna ask you a few of them. All right.
Sure.
All right, here we go. First question. Oh, this is a great one. You have a one-way ticket to anywhere in the world to go. Where would it be and why?
Right now,
Right now.
right now, I'm a big Parisian lover, so I haven't been to Paris in a long time since this whole pandemic. So it's been calling me. It's been calling me. So I would
Okay, cool.
definitely train to Paris and just enjoy the croissants and the and the Eiffel Tower and the Seine River and all of that good stuff, you know.
That's what's up. All right, here we go. Should your friends have an opinion on who you date?
Yes. They should. I mean, I value my friends' opinion, you know. I may not necessarily, you know, take their advice, depends on, you know, how I feel about it, but I value my friends' opinion. I think they know me well enough to be like, Sanjay, like, you know, I don't think that guy you're into, you know, I don't think that guy is into you as much, or if, you know, I don't think that, you know, I'm not getting a good vibe from him. Like, I think my friends, you know, have my best interests at heart,
Right.
and I do value their opinion.
Well, the guy ain't into you. He's a fool. Might be mine. Dude, walk around like this. Yeah. All right, last one. What was one of your biggest regrets, personally or professionally?
One of my things, not listening to my gut. There's been times like, you know, when I was doing an event and I partnered with someone, and they just, you know, were not honest with like the talent, you know, and it just was not thorough, and so it ended up like making the event like not a great success.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, when I spoke to my mentor, he's like, "You never partner with somebody who you're helping more than, you know what I mean? Like you're helping them more than they're helping you. Like you always partner up. You know what I
Right.
mean? You don't partner down. You partner up." And I was like, that consistently like that made sense to me, you know. From there, he's just like, you know, because I was like so devastated, you know, by everything had happened. So I, you know, did all the correct steps, what I thought was correct, and I left one part up to, you know, a partner of mine, and he didn't really do his part, and it ended up just making, you know, the whole event a disaster. And my mentor was like, "You don't partner down."
There it is.
Mm-hmm.
There it is. Oh shit! I just realized something.
What?
I messed up something on my end. Don't you worry about it.
Okay.
Don't worry about it. It's something I did.
Okay, just make sure you're branding and messaging, you know.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Hey, but on the real, I want to thank you tonight. It was super dope. I'm so glad we were able to do this.
Thanks for the invite. I really appreciate it.
Absolutely. We're going to do it again because I got a part 2 that I want to do with you that I want to dig into, and I think people really dig on that too, especially for all these entrepreneurs out here.
I know. We get to speak about the X. We didn't even get to speak about X. You know what I mean?
Because that's because I forgot to bring my power cord down.
Oh, good.
Yeah. So we'll run it back. We'll do, you know, maybe we'll do something. We'll do like a quick little Instagram chat. We could do it on IG Live.
Oh, good.
That'll work.
That'll work.
All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together once again for the incomparable, the talented, the sophisticated, the almighty. Give you all the accolades. You know what I'm saying? Her name, once again, is Sonjay.
Okay. Woo! You got it. Hey, yeah.
Paris. You know what I'm saying? You better get it, or you don't get nothing. Yo, thank you again, baby girl, and we will connect very soon. All right.
All right. Cool beans.
All right, no doubt. Everybody, thank y'all for hanging out with me tonight. And I want to thank my guests once again for being a part of this excellent Dope Chats with Stretch. Until next time, y'all be easy. We'll do it again in about a week or so. All right.